Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, this is Brian Foster on Kardec Radio, presenting the program Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. Hello, this is Brian Foster, and we are here with Lawrence Carlson. And tonight should be very interesting because Lawrence had a very involved out-of-body experience. And in fact, from that out-of-body experience, he has created a whole new way of looking at his life, his belief system, and also kind of telling us how we should look at our life and belief system, which is something we will probably get into, not this show, because we really want to get into more of what happened to Lawrence Carlson and his out-of-body experience. But first, let me do some housekeeping so we can start. So if you would like to call in, please dial in number 858, area code 858-769-4705. And also, if you'd like to chat, again, you can ask us any questions as we are talking. If you are on the blog streaming window, navigate down, scroll down a bit, you'll see the chat window. So, Lawrence, how are you doing today?
Hi, doing good. Been a really nice, beautiful, warm day today in Boise.
Well, that's wonderful. So let's get right to it. So, tell me first of all, just give me a quick summary of what you have created as a result of your out-of-body experience.
Well, multiple ways of thinking probably are the most important. And as a result of that, I've created I think I've plagiarized, believed to be the operating system of the universe that works very similar to, but different than the operating system of our computers, that in turn, the operating system and its flexibility creates belief apps that we think with. And for instance, a number or a numbering system is a belief app, or the very words and the definitions we put into words that we think with are belief apps. And from this operating system of the universe, thus, which is, I believe, to be the conscious operating system of the universe, it thereby goes, if apple trees produce apple trees and giraffes produce giraffes, then a conscious, universal, infinite conscious system creates a conscious system, which is what I use to think with, and everyone else. So then a summary of how to think your way to paradise.
And really what you've said, and we'll get into that probably in another program, but, Spiritism tells us that we are what we think. And this conscious operating system, really, it all flows into that. You are what you think, you are what your belief system is, and you become what you visualize and what you force yourself.
At one level, I totally agree, but at another dimension, I would embellish that we are what we think by changing it by we are at what we think. Because R denotes identity, and I no longer believe there is a mirror that will ever tell me who I am. It will just tell me where I'm at, or what energy frequencies am I currently in coherent alignment with. But never will I know who I am, and I love that. I've been a CPA since 1976, and you know how CPAs and actuaries are. They're well, we won't get into that, but anyway, I had the answers and numbers for everything, and all of a sudden, when I had this out-of-body experience, all of a sudden I realized I no longer have reason to be proud of anything or embarrassed of anything. And doesn't mean that my behavior has always been up to hoil, according to my wife, who is my best teacher. But so what we think, it tells us where we're at, but for me, it does not ever tell me who I am. So that's just a, and even the Buddhist thinking is in alignment with what I just said. What I just said is in violation of a lot of the belief systems out there, including the ones that are since the days of the Sanskrit and the Tibetan monks and all that. It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just what I've experienced. That is now my truth.
No, very interesting. So give us some background of you before we get into your out-of-body experience. So you said you were an accountant, and can you kind of tell us how did you get to where you are today? I mean, where did you come from? Can you give us a little bit of background?
Well, if we're speaking of this dimension only, born and raised in Southfield, Puyallup, Tacoma area, and joined the nuclear submariner Navy, became a reactor operator to stay out of Vietnam. Then the VA bill, GI Bill, helped me attend Pacific Lutheran University there in Parkland, where I had to take a few courses in philosophy and religion. Took a course in world religion because I was not all that interested in Christianity. We live in a world of Christianity, even by the words we use. And from there, what really happened at the university, and I was majoring in accounting and finance, and eventually became a CPA. But what the professors did, was planted seeds and questions that were never satisfied with the answers I gave them, and they've been sort of like my compasses all my life. Who am I? Where am I at? Where am I going? And why? The age-old questions. Well, then I did a lot of CPA stuff, public accounting, auditing, fraud auditor, and then I was a controller for a very, very, very large construction development syndication company in Bellevue, Washington, operating in 38 states, and did a bunch of other stuff. Hired to turn around 2 pension systems, one in American Samoa as a chairman. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you weren't really what you would call right out of the gate, because some children are spiritual, and some children are almost just born more spiritual. To me, I was born more of a concrete thinker. It was more. I never really had that until I went through what I did. But so were you always interested in spirituality, or you were just interested in looking at other religions just to see an alternative to Christianity?
I could lie to you, but the reason why I took world religions is because I had to. Otherwise, I couldn't graduate. I was not really interested. I wasn't interested in religion at all. As a kid, my mother and my father and I was probably 5, maybe 6. We went to a church, and the ladies were talking negatively about the only black family in the neighborhood, and my dad said, "If this is religion, I want nothing to do with it," and we never went back. And so that, at the age of 5, told me all I needed to know about religion, and I didn't need any more. And so, no, I was not religious at all. When I got married, I married a lovely lady, born and raised in Park City and Salt Lake area, and her folks were Jack Mormon, but she was sort of Mormon, And so when we had our first kid, and she was a pretty intelligent lady, and when I was flying submarines underwater, she was flying Pan Am above water, and we met and got married. And when we had our first child, then she starts thinking about, the eternal things and starts going back to the Mormon Church.
Right, changes your attitude when you have children. Yep.
Oh, yeah. And I went in there as an investigator thinking it was a cult to protect my wife, the very left-brain CPA guy like me. I knew there had to be some kind of a conspiracy going on. Well, what I found out was that they were teaching a lot of really, really awesome principles about life eternal. And so I studied the church thoroughly and read all kinds of books for 5-6 years before I ever allowed them to get me baptized in the ocean in South Pacific. And that's when I got interested in the spirituality aspect of man's religion. And I say those two words because, as we all know, there's a chasm of difference between the two. So that's when I became really curious about the spiritual nature and essence of humanity. What is it? Why is it? And that really is summarized in, who am I really?
So when we were talking before, you said one of the catalysts that really got you to, I think, cause your out-of-body experience was when you read the book, Jesus the Christ.
Yes. Somewhere along the line, it could have been a PLU, I was taught that when you read a book, don't just read the words. Use the words like pointers, as road signs. Go to where the words are pointing you to and try to have a vicarious experience paralleling the author and where the author was to say what he said. Because somewhere I got the notion that the only closest thing to truth one's going to have is one's experience, but never what is written or told to you. Trust your experience, and everything else put a maybe on it. So I read, I think it is written by Talmage, a very, very, very profound, deep-thinking author, Jesus the Christ. And I got to the area where Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he went through incredible agony on that words really cannot describe, but he did a fairly decent job. And I stopped. I want to experience a little bit of what these words are telling me that this alleged character, Jesus the Christ, was experiencing. And I pondered on that subject and meditated on that probably for, I would guess the better part of a week. And then, 15, 20 minutes here, 15, 20 minutes there, reading again, reading the footnotes. And one night, during that intense curiosity of mine, I went to bed, and the real I really woke up, like a little raindrop falling gently into the incredible ocean of infinity, and not just being a drop inside the ocean, but the drop became the ocean of infinite stillness.
And what you had told me before is what kind of brought you to that state when that happened is that wasn't it that night that you thought and then you kind of felt what Christ would feel, and then you actually cried.
I'm going there now. Yes. When when I can replicate the emotional or feeling frequency quality of a question or a particular subject, sometimes I'm able to be at one with that energy field of memory. And I don't want to get close there now because I don't want to cry. And this is a CPA talking. But yes, when I sensed what Christ was going through, it wasn't just the physical pain. That's the way down the supply chain of the dominoes. What I sensed was that he felt he had failed the task he promised to accomplish, because at that moment he was only experiencing the 12 of his students that he hand selected were denying him, and his own brethren, his own religion was going to kill him. And he had promised his father, I'm going to do this and I can do that, and I'm going to need your help, but we're going to get this done. And while in his process, I experienced him not seeing the whole picture yet, but seeing where he failed.
So I mean, and I think what you said
was horrible.
And I think what you said is something I think, especially for people like you and I, who grew up always thinking that, I'm a rational person, I shouldn't let emotion into my life, right? But I think what we learn is emotion with intellect can unleash a lot.
Oh, what you just said. The best book I've ever read on that amplifies what you just said is How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. What you just basically said was one of 7 mind states he would access, and it's called, and I don't pronounce Italian words well, but the arte of scienze and the scienze of arte, the art of science and the science of art. And I've redefined that just for me as being the knowing of the quality of the quantity and the quantity of the quality. Whereas nuclear physicists, they're all into the quantum physics. And I think when they start to explore the qualia and the quanta of matter, of energy, then the energy frequency of the art of knowing and the knowing of art, or the art of science and the science of art, those two frequencies are going to co-resonate, and it's going to be the library card to infinity.
And what you just said, and what we're talking about is what Spiritism tells us is we have to combine those two. We have to combine that intellectual and curiosity with our emotional feeling, and that's where we ascend. That's how we rise up. So let's talk about. So you were just telling me before I took us off track a little bit.
That's okay.
You were just going to a special place. So give us how you started your out of body experience.
Oh boy, I wish that was like I could write it down like a Betty Crocker cookbook, because but I can't.
You told me that all of a sudden you were in a place and a spirit asked you something.
Oh, that. I thought you were asking me, okay, exactly, step by step, how does one get into the 0 point field? Or how does one get into the everywhere that's nowhere simultaneously, or the infinite, eternal, self-realized absolute? I just have to make the assumption that I got there because of my curiosity and wanting to feel what Christ felt, wanting to be one with him, one with his memory. And I just make that assumption. However, maybe it wasn't I that did it, but maybe it was those that were watching invited me in. and I cannot tell you which one it is. I have no idea.
And I believe it was probably a combination of the both. They were watching what you're doing and then invited you in. But let's talk about after you were invited in. What happened in that out-of-body experience?
No, I don't know what kind of detail you want, but I'll just start and you can coach me along, less detail or more detail. It was like this raindrop falling into this ocean, this of infinite, eternal silence, and then I became one with it. And the reason why I knew I was one with it is because I could feel tactically, I could kinesthetically, I could feel it. It's like my hands went out in all directions. But obviously it wasn't my hands. It was my awareness, me, that expanded. The awareness is infinite, and I became infinite awareness, but nothing to be aware of. Some have said that I've interviewed and read, I don't know, 150 books later, when consciousness is in a place where nothing is to be conscious of, it's not conscious. It's conscious potential, because conscious literally means consciere, with knowing, from the Greek. But what it is, it's aware. So it's a noticer with nothing to notice, but wanting to notice. And so all of a sudden I just became it all. And then at an unbelievable distance, a little pinprick light, I noticed a little pinprick light, farther than words can ever express. And it got closer and closer, and it was coming closer and closer to me. And a friend, weeks later, that had died on the operating table having brain surgery, asked me, Larry, was it coming to you or were you going to it? And we both laughed. Einstein's right. Relativity is very slippery. You have no way of knowing who's moving and who isn't moving. There's no reference point in nothing. Right. So anyway, and all of a sudden this light gets bigger and brighter, and all of a sudden it looks like a 12-foot hula hoop glowing. And at the 1 o'clock position stands this personage that is the most gorgeous, pure white light you'd ever see. And it's not blurry on the edges. This guy, and the hula hoop he's standing on, like the rim of a clock at 1 o'clock, it's like perfection at the edge. And this guy who had the near-death experience months later asked me, so how bright was it? And I said, it's the brightest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He says, was it the bright white or was it the total absence of darkness? And from his question, I cried. When we were talking, and he and I spent 6 hours together, uninterrupted, with questions like this. And when I cried, he cried. And we just shook our heads at each other. I'm going there now. And he just smiled. And I smiled back. We both knew it's wordless. So then getting into left brain discussion here with you, Brian, this personage says, Larry, how'd you like to see something really cool? Well, duh. The compass of my life has been curiosity. I mean, I've been Mr. Curiosity since day one. And so off we go. And I find myself on a campus, a gorgeous day, fir trees, so I had to be up in the Pacific Northwest. Duh. And we're walking on the walkway to a library. It's an old university. And there's kids sitting down next to trees and reading books, and it's just a beautiful day. And we start to walk up. There are these granite stepping stones that there's 7 layers, like staircase, and we're walking up to the library, and my left foot hits the first stair step that's granite, and my foot goes in the rock. It's concave, and I think, whoa! And so I'm looking down at the rock with my left foot on it, and here this rock it's been carved out by the usage of feet going into that library over eons. And it's incredible. It's like about a 3-inch indentation from the edges. And when I'm looking down, the sun is shining over my right shoulder onto the granite rock on a piece of mica in the granite rock, and it comes back and goes into my right eye, the sun stream. And that sunlight allowed me to use it like an elevator. And who I am, my awareness self, follows and uses that light to go into that granite rock at the string theory level. And there I experienced incredible, detailed energy frequencies. And at least I'm not saying this is the absolute truth, but what I experienced was little strings vibrating, and then the strings were attached to little beads like pearls, like hippie beads, like a curtain. So you'd have a string that would, well, I don't know how long the strings were, but pretend the strings were a 1/4 of an inch long, and then there's a bead, and then there's a 1/4 inch string, and then there's a bead. And these beads were 3 feet high, and they were concentric circles. And the strings are vibrating, and they're like antennas. And when the vibration of these strings can't vibrate fast enough to take in all of the frequency of the field where the strings are at, they put their energy into these pearls, and then the pearls glow. So the pearls are like batteries, but they're also like transmitters, where the pearls, I got to be careful now, where the pearls co-resonate a frequency band with no gaps. There is every visual frequency you can ever imagine, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, olfactory, and other frequencies, and there's no gaps in this frequency rainbow. And excuse me for a second.
Well,
and,
yeah.
And when these frequencies take place, it's like all of a sudden they wake up the antenna within your eternal home, your soul. And now these antennas, when you get out of the near-death or out-of-body experience, these antennas are resonating with other people. And you can sense and feel things about other people you could never sense and feel before because you didn't have the frequency antennas tuned in. And I cried. I was so sensitive for a month and a half, 2 months, just being exposed to all of these frequencies. It's a cosmic harmonic choir, the circle of the spheres.
And this is again what Spiritism tells us. In fact, even back in the 1850s in Allan Kardec's book, they talk about vibrations and frequencies, and the world is made of, the universe is made of universal fluid, and everything else from a combination of density and frequencies, vibrations, however you want to say, every other piece of matter energy is made from that, and it's all about different frequencies. And every piece of matter we see now today is to us it looks solid, but it's frequency vibrations. It's that's what has been told to us within Spiritism, Violent Kardec, since, for 150 years. And you actually saw that. I mean, you actually saw how you start from a simple, a simple thing, and then it just, stores the energy, vibrates, and it creates it. From that, everything is there. And you were able to plug into that.
Yes, and I'm really holding back crying now because it is so beautiful, and I so miss it. That is the essence of our home, and then after, like I said, after months and years later, I probably read 150, 250 books, and one of them was on Pythagoras, and he spoke of the choir of the spheres, that he heard him, and he said the essence of everything is numbers. Yeah, because numbers are an abstract, but what they're an abstract of is relationships of harmonics or disharmonics. And that's all about relationships. Is it love or is it fear?
Yes.
And it just...
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, why don't we just take a short break here? Let's just take a minute break. I'll just put some music on for people. And again, if you want, call in at 858-769-4705. And I'll just take about a 2-minute break. There, can you still hear me, Larry?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'll just let you compose yourself.
Yeah, I've been wiping my eyes. It's just I'm trying to go left brain here, but Brian, I know. You, once a person has been able to go home, this place down here is really sad.
I know. I've heard that.
It's really sad.
But you're helping people understand what could be waiting for them.
Yeah, and it's real. It just yeah. I just wish the religions would start, all religions would start having their members speak that have had near-death non-embodied experiences, and then let those that know a reincarnation, that have memories of past life, let them talk.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Take a minute.
Yeah. I think I'm going to deserve a nice barbecued steak for dinner tonight.
There you go. Okay, we're going to come back.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about when you got out of that and went into the library.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm stopping. Welcome back. Again, this is Brian Foster, Kardec Radio, Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us with Lawrence Carlson. He had just finished telling us he went into the mica, into the granite steps, and really saw what string theory was about. He could feel the vibrations of the universe. He could feel the basis of the logical construct that we live in. Now, Larry, what happened after that?
So after I popped back into my celestial body, climbing those granite stepping stones. By the way, later on I call that one heck of a rock concert. I literally mean a rock concert. We went into the library and walked way at the end of the library, and the wooden floors, wooden walls, everything was wood, and old wood. It was like, whoa, really cool, but very well preserved. And so I went way back in a row where there were books on both sides of me, and the little desks, little chairs. And I sat down, and the celestial tour guide, or perhaps celestial traffic cop, I'm not sure which, said, "Larry, would you like to read a book?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I turn around, and my left arm reaches back 12 feet up in the air, and I pick out a particular book, a knowing that I didn't know, but I knew that's the book I wanted. Now, how that makes sense, it doesn't, not with words. And I brought that book, and my 12-foot arm then shrinks back to its normal 3-foot or whatever. And I sit down, and I'm sitting down, and it's like I thumb the pages, boom, and then I close the book and hold it with both hands on each corner, and I can feel, I almost can feel the intention of the author that wrote this thing eons ago. And but I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy, I was just like, whoa. It was like awesome. And then now, I looked up. Do
you remember what the book was about? Do you remember anything about the book, or they blocked that memory of it that you had? The higher I, right, conscious, in my conscious mind, in my human conscious mind, what it was. Right.
And I looked some.
Your spirit mind still has it.
Oh, I'm convinced I do. I'm convinced that I of I does know. As a matter of fact, I have a feeling it was in cohorts with the celestial tour guide. So let's teach this Larry a lesson or two here. So anyway, I looked up at the tour guide, and he said, "Did you like it?" "Yeah." "Are you done?" "Yeah." "Would you like to put it back?" "Yeah." Now, notice, I'm not asking him any questions. That is not like me at all. And we can footnote discuss that later if you want. But anyway, so I turn around. No, there goes that 12-foot arm again, and I put the book back.
So I would like this is again consistent what you read about, even on the other side, when spirits take people with NDEs or spirits who have just passed over, is they will mentally lead them where they want to go. You won't even know you're being somewhat manipulated.
The fact that I wasn't asking, yes, and the fact that I wasn't asking questions tells me that when I debriefing, later, because when months later, I never am without questions, ever.
Right. And this is where I want to tell people. I mean, to really understand what what Larry's talking about, what other people have got to talk about. I would, there's so much to read out there, what other people have done on NDEs, but also read about Spiritism. Read Allan Kardec's Spirit books. Read the book I've created, Explore Your Destiny, where it kind of tells you about the spirit world, why you're here, why our life is predestined, why are we here on Earth, and everything we have to go through.
That book that you put together, Brian, Explore Your Destiny, since your life's path is mostly predetermined. I told you I read, 100, 200 books. This book here is the culmination and pretty much says the basic core principles of everything I've read. You've done a wonderful, wonderful job. I wish I had known about this book. I could have saved buying an awful lot of books from Amazon had I known that this book existed. Yeah, and that knowing you don't know is knowing. And I believe to this date that there was an intelligence that almost was femtosecond knowing ahead of my about to talk or about to ask a question, and he took that frequency of my thought, phase shifted it 180 degrees, sent it back into my mind field, which nullified my energy frequency of asking a question. Now, a
Yep.
femtosecond is to a second is to 38 million years. So what I'm saying is that these dudes are thinking at time, space, speeds beyond our comprehension.
Right. And these dudes are us.
Oh, yes.
I want everybody to understand. This is why we're on Earth. We're on Earth to train, so we too can be like them, and have that power. But
it's almost like we were Walt Disney. We built the Disneyland, and then we came back as Walt, forgetting that we built it so we could be excited when we got on the rides.
Exactly. So anyway, go on. I don't want to get too far off. So go on when you put the book back, because the next part is very interesting too.
So then he says it done. You know, okay. So we want to. So then he says, "So you ready to go?" Yeah. So I go to get up, and the calves of my legs push against the chair. Now the chair is old; it's wood, and it has no metal cleats or anything at the bottom of its rungs. And the reason I know that is because the metal or the wooden chair's wooden rungs vibrates on the wooden floor, and that vibration goes away from me to the wall that I'm facing, which is about 30 or 40 feet away. And that vibration frequency comes back and hits my left ear before it hits my right ear. Instantly, I know I'm not sitting parallel to that wall. Otherwise, the noise would hit both ears at the same time. That time differential has got to be so small. That gives one a sense of the sensory lucid acuity that we have when we're not impeded with the 5 sensory pickup devices in our human body. When we're out of our human body, our pickup devices are brilliant. And brilliant is a shadow word trying to describe the bright experience we all are going to enjoy. OMG.
And that's what we've also read from other people. G. Bao Owen, when he talked to spirits, they say that we're in this physical spacesuit that it's like a handicap, right? We see only 1/8 of around us. Our hearing is limited. Our sight is limited. Everything. We have not anywhere near the senses that are there when we're in our spirit form, and that's part of our training, I guess, is to go through this very limited. I always we're kind of like one of those dogs with those cones around them, right? It's like our whole life is, we probably looked at ridiculous the most. So, but anyway, so then what happened next?
So then we get up, we walk out of the library using the right side of the door as opposed to the left door that I come in, and we're standing on the top platform, and he's on my right, and there's a young lady, college age. Of course, I guess we're all college age there. We're all students on the campus. With many campuses, but anyway, she's coming up to the stairs that I just had gone into, but she didn't seem to go into the staircase. And she's coming up, and she's got books, and she's got a really nice white dress with flowers on it, cotton dress, and petticoats underneath it. That dates me into the 50s for sure. And he looks at me and he says, "Larry, do you think she's read that book?" And I look at him and I say, "Probably not." And then he says, "Larry, do you think you're better than she because you have?" Now let's stop a second. I never felt guilty. I never felt accused. I never felt belittled. what I did feel was relief. I became less dense, lighter. Later, after that experience in a week or two, I'm debriefing myself all the time. I come to realize, since I am not what I know, that means I'm also not what I don't know. So there's no reason. Go ahead.
No, because I think the audio went down for a second. So when he asked you that, you said no, right? You said, no, I don't feel like I'm superior to that woman.
Yeah, it says no. And I didn't feel judged or anything. And I felt lighter and I felt relief.
But you said no like any one of us would say no. We would say no because if you said yes, even though inside yourself, as in a human body, most of us would say, well, yeah, I read the book. She didn't read the book. Of course I'm better, right? I did the effort.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, that's I mean, to me, this is the most true things. I mean, not that everything else, but this just gets to the heart of why we're on this campus of Earth. Because when you said no, then you really realized that, yes, the answer is no, right? And that's why you became left in.
Truly.
Right.
And so I have got nothing to be proud of or defensive of what I know or don't know. I can never be proud, nor should I ever be embarrassed. Now, my beliefs might be, but that's not my mirror any longer. Beliefs no longer are my mirror. So then he looked at me, and I can't say he was smiling, but when I said no, but because I might be projecting a twinkle in his eye and a hidden smile. I think I was reading him. I really do. It was like, yes, you got it. Nice going. And then he said to me, I really do. I can feel it now. And it's a little shit. So then he says to me, Larry, there will be a time when. Now, the minute he uses the word time, I'm feeling what time is. And after the word time, the words he uses thereafter, which I'll express in a moment, I was there femtoseconds before the words were uttered, which meant I was reading his thoughts before he was translating them into words. Remember, words are abstracts, and they come after the thought. They come after the pure thought. Thought from words are diminished. Pure thought is diminished when we use words because words aren't the real thing. They're just maps, assumed perceptions. So he said, Larry, there will be a time when your curiosity, I'm in time, my curiosity is just super, super resonating. Like, Larry, there will be a time when your curiosity will gain you access to the infinite library of the universe. Now, I don't have a great memory. I have never had to memorize what he said. It is in the library of my soul forever. So when he said that, I was in the infinite library of the universe. And I thought the 0 point field was awesome. That's just a blank blackboard. But wait till you see the professor and what he can put on that blackboard. And that blackboard is not just two-dimensional or three-dimensional. That blackboard is multidimensional, and it is incredible. And I cannot describe it. But when you're there, you're like, whoa. There is all kinds of oceans of wonderment we have yet to explore, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And then I came back. He was gone, and I woke up, and my pillow got wet real quick. And I got up, and oh, wow, Brian, for weeks, I would see a little girl touch her brother, or another little kid with tenderness as someone fell down and scraped their knee, and I would cry. I couldn't stop crying. It was like the standard of humanity, the standard of loving compassion had raised so high that when you compare the higher standard that we deserve to what we do to ourselves, it's horrible. It's horrible.
No, I understand completely. And what you've just said is a recurring theme in near-death experiences. Is love. I mean, love. When you first saw that spirit, that white light, what Spiritism tells that white light. The reason he's like is because that spirit reflects the love that's surrounding everyone in the spiritual universe, and that is what we're here on earth to live, to understand and live, is to love, is to follow the golden rule. Like the golden rule has been out through Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, all sorts of religions. They all say treat others as we want to be treated, and that is what we have to learn. And that is why we're on this earth. Spiritism tells us the earth is the planet of atonement. What does that mean? It means that we're on a planet where we learn to become civilized. We learn to love everyone, and until we and really, what's the qualification to get that universal library card? The qualification is to become a better person, to become full of love, and understanding,
and the love
and our intellect. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The love of curiosity and the curiosity of love, and there is the self-amplifying circuit. And in the video that I shared with you on YouTube, I talk about love and agape, philos, and eros. And I said, if the Eskimos got 20-some words for snow, for crying out loud, we ought to have a few extra words for love, because one word is not nearly sufficient, because we have a lot of different beliefs about different levels of love, be it the philo or the eros or the agape or the storge or the Greek levels. And so if everybody starts looking for, and make up your own words of different frequencies of love. Love is that which attracts, where in physics entropy diminishes and it separates and it tears apart. But if love unites, how can one unite with one's eternal self in a co-resonant harmonic that creates the bliss of your eternal home? And when you're there, you cannot not share it with others. It's just automatic.
Right.
And
also for people listening, and this is again a common recurring theme, is the spirit life is just what you feel, what your potential is so wonderful. And what does that mean? What that should mean to all of us is we need to detach ourselves from materialism here on earth. Why are we working so hard to buy that extra, large TV set or that extra new car, when we should be preparing ourselves for life after this life, the real life and the spirit life? That's where we spend. We're all immortal souls. That's where we're going to spend the vast majority of our time. So let's get our training done as fast as we can. Let's get our mindset so we love each other. And then we will be back in that world sooner. And when you start making that step, and then when people like you, Lawrence, and other people have had experiences, they look at things differently. And you know what? Making that extra dollar isn't as important as doing that extra gesture or being that shoulder that helps someone.
Yeah.
You learn what's important.
You change your compass. We should
all take this from people. It changed your compass.
It totally
and yet
changes.
It's hard.
Yes.
And it's hard because we are constantly bombarded by propaganda, commercials telling us our life should be one of buying things.
I think where my personal opinion is, if we redefine the word ignorance, there's humble ignorance, there's confident ignorance, and there's arrogant ignorance. And all ignorance is states of belief systems controlling our thinking. But if we detach from our beliefs and no longer identify with them, they're still going to create our emotions, where our soul's truths, or gnosis, I think, creates our feelings. So there's difference in my life between emotions and feelings. But if we learn to, like in Buddhism, detach attachments, and when we eliminate everything we're not, that's where we've always been.
Right. And I've read, and I like that phrase, detach from attachments. And I've heard it also phrased, it's, getting rid of things. It's like pruning a tree. The tree grows back stronger.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson, and we've heard that from, not just from you, but from other people who've gone through this. And so, why did you think that you were picked to have this experience? Is it because you and I are talking today, and we're bringing it to other people? I mean, I know part of it was to help you personally, but I also think the spirit world is trying to have people like you communicate and teach others, right? So there's something besides of just a materialistic, one existence. We are more than just a physical, organ that dies and deteriorates after we're dead. Our soul and our spirits, we are immortal, and we will carry on.
Yeah, and I've learned for me that for me to think differently, sometimes I got to create my own words, like stepladders, rungs. Otherwise, I can't get there. And so soul to me no longer, because there's so much confusion about psyche and mind and brain and soul and spirit. To me, soul is an acronym, SOUL, the spirit of universal love. It's the home.
I like that.
It's what I think it was not Pythagoras, but I think it was Plato that said memory is the scribe to the soul. Well, he was implying that the soul is the library where we live forever. It's the ship we sail in. No matter what dimension or what dimensions or realms we go, we're going to be traveling with our soul. And our soul has truths, and those truths resonate with frequencies that I call feelings or spirit. The spirit of the soul, the spirit of enjoyment, the spirit of enthusiasm, and theos, the God within. So why did this happen? I think we're all teachers, and I feel compelled to help the world realize, detach from belief systems. They're living, conscious, self-sustaining human handlers. And I wrote a poem called Paradise Found. Deception past to paradise lost. Humanity pays an identity cost. Facts or fictions, truths or lies, those are the beliefs that are filtering our eyes. Change your beliefs within your brain to create what your heart does yearn to gain. Beliefs are illusions of the truths that they have hid, while truth is the reality of what truth actually did. Change your lenses and you will change what you see. Paradise is found. Man's to be free. It's beliefs.
Oh, Larry, I want you to write that and send that to me in an email so I can document that. I love that. It is a beautiful poem.
Thank you.
So if you could do that,
I didn't write it. I plagiarized it.
Well, most things are.
I think I took it from the library and just stole it. So I give the original author, whoever wrote it.
Yes, thank you. No, and that's and I've gotten messages from mediums that talk to me from the spirit world, and they say, open your eyes for what is the real truth, right? We don't know the truth, and it's exactly what you just said, because you said it much better than I did. There is a truth out there. We don't know what that truth is unless we really explore it. Unless you're at one with, and you guys suspend all numbers, all words, all thinking, just be one with and co-resonate and entangle with that frequency of that territory, because everything else is a map. It's not the territory. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then people will ask, okay, if there is a spirit world, why don't they just come down and tell us? Look, there's a spirit world. Just tell us everything we need to know. And
explore your destiny says why. You did a heck of a job, because that was a problem I had. That and memory. Why are we not allowed to remember our past lives? That really bugged me. And your book, Explore Your Destiny, helped me forgive what I thought was God. That wasn't.
And because we're students. If you were teaching a class, will you tell your students, "Oh, here's a test and here's all the answers"? No, you don't do that. We have to figure that out ourselves. And we're going to make mistakes. That's why we have to have multiple lives. God would not be so. It would not be so have so much injustice to say you only have one chance. No, we have.
Yeah, I mean, talk about loveless.
Right. So anyway, Larry, this has been great. This has been a wonderful thing. I'm going to document what we're talking about. I'll write another article about the NDE. I think you will be part of my next book, 12 more NDEs that I've written about people's and OBEs, about people's experiences and how it's interpreted by Spiritism. I believe that we are being told these things at this time to enlarge and to talk to people directly. The internet is here for a reason. The internet was put at this time and date so we could talk to one another. And as many of us felt, is that organized religion doesn't really, at least in Christianity, doesn't tell us about reincarnation, doesn't tell us about these things, doesn't tell us why there's chaos in this world, and it's explained.
That's why I think you really ought to do workshops, Brian. I'm serious. You should do workshops.
Well, thank you, and I think that I would like to try to do that, and we will maybe we can work together, because I think people need to understand. You don't need to have dietary restrictions. You don't need to wear certain clothes. You don't need to pray with certain words. It's all about your relationship with your spirituality and with other people. That's what's important.
That is it.
Okay, Larry, it's been a pleasure in talking to you, and thank you for
thank
everyone.
you.
I see that there's been quite a few people calling in, and you know what? I apologize. I just never had time to stop and let other people call in. Maybe we, later on, if people look at this and look at our radio program, maybe we can schedule a program where we just take calls. I think that might be
That'd
a good
be
one
fun.
too. And we also want another program where Larry can really explain more. I have a link to Larry's YouTube presentation, so please look at that. And we will start going off now. And I'll put the ending show sound on. And thank you, Larry, and thank everybody that listens. And God bless all of you.
Thank you for what you're doing for the world, Brian, and I really mean that.
Oh,
seriously.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You bet. Bye.
I would like to thank everyone for listening to our program on Kardec Radio, and to point you in the direction to find more information about the spirit world around us. You can visit my blog at www.nwspiritism.com. Again, that is www.nw, as in Northwest, spiritism.com. And if you are ever in the Northwest, I certainly would welcome to have you come to our meeting on Bainbridge Island near Seattle in the state of Washington. Many blessings to all of you, and please continue to explore Spiritism and the spirit world around us.